Chav Zayin Amud Beis. We'll begin Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom, the end of the second line from the bottom. Rabbi Yirmiyah, how could Rabbi Yirmiyah daven behind Rav? We learned previously that Rabbi Yirmiyah davened behind Rav. How could he do that? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Rav, la'olam al yispal adam, lo keneged Rabbi. A person should not daven keneged Rabbi in the same line as Rebbe. Shows that he's an equal to his Rebbe if he davens in the same level, the same row as his Rebbe. V'lo yacharei Rabbi, and not behind his Rebbe. B'tanya, he shouldn't daven behind his Rebbe. Rashi says, this guy V'tefza says, because when he bows down in Shemona Esrei, it gives the appearance like he's bowing down to his Rebbe. V'tanya, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi, if a person does that, and they sing Shalom Rabbi, he gives Shalom to his Rebbe like an ordinary person. He doesn't say Shalom Alecha Rebbe. V'matzah Shalom Rabbi, and he answers him with Shalom again without the proper salutation. V'achoylek al yeshiva also shel Rabbi. He's choylek on the yeshiva's Rebbe. He sets up his own yeshiva without permission from his Rebbe. He makes a breakaway without permission from his Rebbe. If he says something as Var Halacha, which he did not hear from his Rebbe, some Rishonim say that the problem is, the issue is that people assume that this is the halacha, the shita of his Rebbe, and if he doesn't say it clearly, he says something that he didn't hear from his Rebbe, and without qualifying it and saying that it's mipi somebody else, people will assume that it is the shita of his Rebbe. If he does any of these things, he causes the Shekhinah Chas V'Shalom to depart from Yisrael. So how could he daven behind Rav? For the Gemara, Shani Rav Yamia Bar Abba, the Talmud Chaver. He was not a Talmud. He was a Talmud Chaver. He was really considered, in general terms, on the same madrega as Rav. He happened to learned certain things from Rav, so he was a Talmud. He was a Talmud Chaver, and a Talmud Chaver is not required to conduct themselves with these halachos of the same level of kavod. And therefore we understand how he could say to him the following. He said, Mi badlos. He said, were you mavdal? Were you mavdal? So Amarle in Bedilna. Yes, I was mavdal. Amar mi bedil mar. He didn't give him the proper kavod bedil mar because he wasn't a Talmud. He was a Talmud chaver. So this is referring to mi badlas was what he said. The case was talking where Rav davened shel Shabbos, erev Shabbos. He davened the Mariv on erev Shabbos. So Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba asked him, Were you now mavdil and you stopped doing malacha? So he said yes. That Miba'ima in Bedilim. He did not address him. He didn't say Mibdil Mar. That shows you that he was not a Talmud, he was a Talmud Chaver. Now, we have to mention this about whether he stopped doing Malacha. He davened Shel Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, that he stopped doing Malacha. We're going to analyze now this statement. Was he mafsik from Malacha? Did he stop? Was Mavdal and stopped doing Malacha? He davened Shabbos, Shal Shabbos, but it was before nighttime. He davened Shabbos and Erev Shabbos v'nichnas l'merchatz. He went into the bathhouse also, and there he came out v'shon alon pirkin, and he taught us the shiur. And it was still before nighttime. So you see that he was not bodal. You see that he did not mafsik from Malach. He did Isurim. He went into the Merchatz. On Shabbos, it's also to go into the Beis HaMerchatz. So you see that just because he davened early did not require him from stopping to do Isur Shabbos, Malach, and Shabbos. Rava, he answers, No, he did not do an Isur because there he went in not to bathe. He went in just to have the steam of the bathhouse. And it was before that the Chomer Geyser even on Lahaziyah. The Chomer Geyser on bathing because we're afraid that attendants would heat up the water. But the first level of the Gzer was on the bathing was also, but Lahaziyah, to go for the steam, to perspire, that was mutter. Then the second level is that they were Geyser even on that. So here, now, when really, I'll tell you that Rav, he was Mavdal, he was Badal. He did separate himself. He davened Marv early, And even though it was not yet dark, but once he davened Maariv, we did not do Isur Shabbos. This wasn't an Isur because perhaps this was talking that it was Lahazia only, and before they were Geyser HaLahazia. Ini practically Gemara v'ha'abayesh or le'Ravdimi bar le'Kavuya Salim. How can you tell me that it's also, once if they daven early, it's also to do Yisur Shabbos? Abaye did permit Rav Dimi bar Levoy to sulfur, to make with sulfate baskets. They used to do it for sometimes for dyeing, for coloring. He had permitted him to do it, and even though he had already davened, they'd fill off Shabbos. And he permitted him to do it because it was not yet dark. Remember the Gemara, so that case was they were makabel Shabbos not intentionally early. Over there they thought it was dark. It turned cloudy, it turned dark, and they thought because of the dark clouds that it was already nighttime, so they davened, but they had no intention of being makabel Shabbos early. But Rav, he was daven shel Shabbos, B'erev Shabbos, with the intention of kabbalah Shabbos, therefore was also to do malachim. But over here, in the case of Abaya, it was a ta'usa. Practically more of a ta'usa. Mihadra is a mistake. Mihadra, can you take it back? Can you say, oh, it was a mistake, and therefore the Kabbalah Shabbos is not a Kabbalah Shabbos? One time it turned dark, cloudy and dark. The people thought, the tzibur thought it was already nighttime. And they went into shul and they davened. They thought Shabbos was over, and they davened Maariv. They davened the Maariv Motzei Shabbos, but it was still Shabbos. And then the clouds cleared up. The sun came out and was shining. Rebbe, they asked Rebbe, what is the din over here? And he said, you already davened Maariv. You don't have to daven over again. So it would seem to be that even though it was a mistake, even though they didn't intend to daven Maariv they didn't intend to daven, if they had known it was Shabbos, they wouldn't have davened Maariv. But nevertheless, once they davened, and therefore they were mavdil. Mora says, no, what it means is that it's shiny tzibur that we're not matriach them to come back to shul to daven again. We say as far as davening goes, then we say that as far as davening, they daven, we're not matriach them to daven again. But we say that as far as the malacha is concerned, we say if it's a toes, if it's a mistake, so just like an Arab Shabbos, if it's a Kabbalah Shabbos b'toes, they are not Kabbalah Shabbos, they are not Makabel Shabbos, and they are permitted to do malacha. The toes is, since it's a mistake, since it's a toes, a Kabbalah Shabbos is not considered a Kabbalah Shabbos. Over here, over here, what we say is that simply that we're not matriach them to daven again. Omar Rav Chia bar Rav and Rav Salishal Shabbos B'erev Shabbos, like we said before, Rav daven Erev Shabbos Shabbos, Rav Yeshua Masechet Motzei Shabbos b'Shabbos, and he davened Shal Motzei Shabbos on Shabbos. He davened Maariv Motzei Shabbos when it was still daylight. It was not yet dark on Motzei Shabbos. Rav Salishal Shabbos B'erev Shabbos, he davened Shal Shabbos and Erev Shabbos Omer Kedusha al HaKoyes, Eino Omer Kedusha al HaKoyes. Can he say Kiddush at that time? It's not yet dark. Can he say Kiddush at that time? Tashma, Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel, Mispal Al Shal Shabbos B'erev Shabbos Omer Kedusha al HaKoyes. He can daven Shabbos B'erev Shabbos, and he says Kiddush al HaKoyes. And that's the halacha, and that's what's commonplace that we see that people are sometimes makabel Shabbos early, especially in the summer months, and they can make Kiddush al HaKoyes. Rabbi Yeshua Masechet Motzei Shabbos b'Shabbos, he davened Maariv. It was still Shabbos, it was still daylight, and he davened Maariv. Can he say Havdalah or not? And he can say it's permitted to say Havdalah. He's permitted to say the Havdalah. So as Taisus points out, as Isis points out, that this is only permitted for tzarech mitzvah. For instance, he has to go for a mila or something that in nature, and he won't have wine elsewhere. But to make havdolah and to make it earlier without a special tzarech mitzvah, then it would be also. It's only a permit, and we only permit this to do this because in the case of tzarech mitzvah b'shas chag. But otherwise, we would not permit it, and certainly it's also to do a malach, but we would not permit even davening marav earlier and being havdalah earlier, if not for a tzarech mitzvah. It's only b'shas chag that one would permit such a maisa, because there's certainly a mitzvah of Tosfos Shabbos, and therefore we would not permit this. It would not be the tzarech mitzvah of Shabbos chag. Amar Rav Zera, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Elazar, Amar Rav Chanina, Amar Rav Yitzhak, Amar Zeh, Hispal, Rav Shmuel, Rav Yosef, Shel Shabbos, Be'erev Shabbos. He testified that he davened Shabbos, he was kabbalah Shabbos early, and by this pillar he davened Shel Shabbos, Be'erev Shabbos. Ki also Ula Amar V'Sad Tomorrow Hava V'Levasad Amid. He was behind a palm tree and not by a pillar. That's where it was. But Sad Amid Hava V'Lev Rishon Rav Yosef Hava El Rav Elazar Rav Yosef Hava. He wanted to be Meduya Medayik clearly exactly what was the Maisa, and he said that one in fact who it was Rav Elazar Rav Yosef V'Leishel Shabbos Be'erev Shabbos, and it was not Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, it was not being Makdim Shabbos, called Shabbos early, Hava El Shalom Matzoi Shabbos, B'Shabbos Hava. It was Matzoi Shabbos on Shabbos, Marav earlier on Shabbos. It says in the Mishnah, Marav has no keva, meaning it can be done the whole night. My Ein Lo Keva, what's this expression of Ein Lo Keva? If it means to simply say that you can daven the whole night, let it simply say you can daven the whole night. What does that mean? It means it's not kavua. It doesn't have a permanent. It's rishus. It's voluntary. So it's a machlokes Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua, and it's a machlokes Abai and Rava. How do we paskin? And Rava says it's Kedivra Haimer Rishus. Tosfos points out when we say Rishus, we don't mean that it is mamish voluntary. What we mean is that relative to the other tefillahs, it doesn't have the same level of obligation as the other tefillahs. So therefore, what it means to say is if there's a mitzvah conflicting other mitzvah to Marev, then we would be doich the Marev for the other mitzvah. But to not daven, to say that it's voluntary and for without a special mitzvah, a special reason not to daven, even according to the Mandam Rishus, we would not say that. Now, as we're discussing whether Rishus or not, we're going to now lead into this discussion with the Machlokes Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua, where they argued on this point, and what it led to a famous machlokes between them. There's certain Talmud. He came before Yeshua. He asked him, "Mishael, Amalei Tzulas Haris Rishus Oichayva. It's a Rishus Oichayva. Amalei Rishus. It's a Rishus. Bom Lifnei Rabban Gamliel Amalei Tzulas Haris Rishus Oichayva. Amalei Chayva. He says it's a Chayva. Amalei V'Halo Rabbi Yeshua. Amalei Rishus. He said, Rabbi Yeshua told me it's a Rishus. Told him, wait here until the Bali Trisim, the soldiers, the ones that carry the shields, meaning the Talmidei Chomim that do battle in Halacha, wait till the Talmidim come into the base of Medrash. He asked to pose the question of the Rishus Chayva. It's an obligation, it's a Chayva, it's like the other tefillas, it's a Chayva. He addressed the Chum and says, does anyone argue on this? Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua himself said, no, nobody argues. Rabbi Gamliel said, in your name they tell me that you say that it's Rishus. Yeshua, he addressed him and he said, stand up, and let them testify against you what you in fact said. Omar Rabbi Yeshua Raglavi stood up for Omar, and he said, if I would be alive, and this other person, the one who asked the question, he would not be alive, I could deny it. However, now, we're both alive. I can't deny it. I can't deny it. Yes, I did tell him that Phil's Arvis is a Rishus. So the rest of that day, Rabbi Gamliel was darshaning. Yeshiva Darsh, he sat and darshan. Rabbi Yeshua, I'm a raglam, and he kept Rabbi Yeshua standing. So it was a disgrace, an embarrassment, humiliation for Rabbi Yeshua that he left him standing over there while Rabbi Gamliel was sitting and darshaning. The people got upset with it and they started to object. And they said to the Meturgam, the one who broadcasted the shiurim of Rabbi Gamliel, Amoid, stop, va'omer. And they stopped. Omre, the Talmidim said, the Chum said, Ad kamen tsar v'nezel. How much can we continue with this tsar that he's humiliating Rabbi Yeshua? Rosh Hashanah, tsar, last year with the Maisa and Rosh Hashanah, he was mitzar. There was a machlokes for Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel, how to be koveya Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, how to be koveya. And the Rosh Chodesh, according to Dirshu, was a day later. So Rabbi Gamliel heard that Rabbi Yeshua was arguing, and he thought there would be a machlokes and people would be noyeg Yom Tov and Yom Noraim different days. He forced Rabbi Yeshua to come with his walking stick and money on the day where Rabbi Gamliel paskined it was Yom Kippur, Rabbi Yeshua paskined it was not Yom Kippur, it was Erev Yom Kippur. He forced him to come on that day to demonstrate to everybody they have to accept, to subjugate themselves to his psak, that the psak is that today is the day of Yom Kippur, that the Rosh Chodesh is the day that he established it as. So he was Mitzar Rabbi Yeshua and that Maisa of Rosh Hashanah the previous year. So that was one case. Then Rosh Hashanah Yishtakeh Tsar B'Bechayrez B'Maisa Rosh Tsar. He also is Mitzayim in the Maisa of Bechayrez, that a Bechor that has a mum. Of course, you're not makar as a korban. You need someone to be made that the mum came on its own and not intentionally. The owner himself is not believed to say that the mum came unintentionally. The owners of the Kahanim, who are owners, were suspected of being matal a mum so that they can eat it as chulin. And however, the Rav Tzadok was a kohen, but he was a Talmud Chacham. Was he believed to say that the mum came on its own? Rabbi Gamliel said no, he's a kohen. Rav Yeshua said, but he's a Talmud Chacham, he is believed. So he's mitzar with that Maisa where he negated the psak of Rav Yeshua. And here now he's being mitzarim in this Maisa Tfilas Arvis, and he's forcing him to stand the whole day. Tov and Avre, let us remove him from being the Nasi. So they asked, Man Noikim Le, who should we replace him with? Noikim Le Rav Yeshua, to replace him with Rav Yeshua, who was of such a stature, but Bal Maisa, he's the Bal Machlokes, and it would not be appropriate to be mitzar him to that extent to put his Bal Machlokes in his place. Should we replace him with Rabbi Kiva? The last school salvas. Rabbi Kiva doesn't have the school salvas now for this Maisa of removing Rabbi Gamliel, removing the Nasi Yisrael. Then there would be a kateger. One would need special protection, and Rabbi Kiva did not have the school salvas to protect him. He has all these milas. We should appoint him, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, because he's a chacham, he's wealthy, and he has yichus, he has chusavais, he's a 10th generation from Ezra. Who chacham? He's a chacham dimakshleim mefargli. If they ask him shailas, he will be able to answer. Who Asher is wealthy? Why was that important? If we have to entreat the Kesar, we have to go to the government, the authorities. He's wealthy, he'll be able to persuade them. Who Asir le Ezra, the Islay schools of Suleimatse Anishlay. And he has schools always that will protect them, that he won't get punished on account of removing the Nasi Rabban Gamliel.